I love nagging my teen to study, said no parent ever. And this is something I hear as an academic coach, both from parents and teens, that they are desperate to move away from nagging. So in this video, I'm going to share with you a little bit about what I see as the root cause of nagging, having worked with hundreds of families on this, and a few steps that you can put in place to remove the need to nag and still achieve the same or hopefully an even better outcome academically. So arguments tend to happen in an exam due to this thing here, ownership. So as a parent, when we see our teen having this low ownership for their exam performance, then our temptation as a parent is to step in and to think, right, if they're not going to make it happen, I'll manage this situation and I'll ensure that we get this done. And that imbalance is often the root cause of arguments. And we solve that by giving our teen the skills and the support and the confidence to step up and get the work done independently. And then that allows us as parents to step back and let them lead. And in my experience, this is not just about supporting your teen with the skills and the will to take ownership and do the work. It's also about, as parents, us developing the confidence to hand the baton over and to give our teen the space to take ownership and probably make some mistakes along the way, but ultimately to get the work done independently. And that's where a coach is often quite helpful to have to support this as someone independent from the family to kind of help shift this balance the opposite way. So to reduce nagging, we need to make some changes, and ultimately we need to move from a management type approach to more of a leadership style approach. And sometimes when teens join my program, so I work specifically with teens in year 11, and parents will say to me, so if we join, are you going to check in with them every day to make sure they've done all of their homework across all of their 9 subjects and that they've done extra studying that they need to do so that then I don't need to do that? And what I always say to parents is, no, that is not what I will do. We absolutely will provide accountability and support structures within the programme, but coaching is not about management. It's not about that box on the left. We're much more about leadership. So with a management style approach, we can, when it works well, get work done and we can make it happen. But we often are really generating compliance. So yes, it might be done, but what we really want, which a leadership style approach can be more successful in generating, is commitment. And I think there's a whole different level of learning that happens when you want to do it for yourself and you're committed and motivated, as opposed to the fact that you feel you've got to get it done. So what we're trying to do really is to move from a you must to you choose type approach. And that can be super effective at helping to develop a motivated, independent learner. Now, there's not a parent in the land that doesn't want a motivated, independent learner. And you might be saying, yeah, Rachel, but how do we actually go about doing that? So we want to fix ultimately one of 3 big problems. And in my experience, all of the challenges fall into one of these 3 buckets in some way. So the first problem is I don't know how to study. The second big problem is I'm not motivated. And the third is I'm not sure I can do it. So how we solve the study skills challenge, to give you this in 1 or 2 words, is we want to spend more of our time answering questions. So we think about this logically. What does an exam look like? It is, we've got to answer a whole series of questions under time conditions. So if we want to get good at the game of exams, and exams are a game, then we want to spend more of our time practicing answering questions. And you might say, but that's obvious. But actually, when we look at the detail of what our teens spend their time doing, both what I see in my work, but also when you look at the research on this, the popular study techniques are highlighting, rereading, making notes, copying out bits of your study guide or large pages of your textbook, and then organising your notes into rainbow coloured order, or making loads of flashcards that we're then going to go and learn later. There is actually a whole ton of activity and stuff that we can spend lots of time on that doesn't involve actually recalling and applying our learning to check what we know and what we're not so sure of. This bit here is also very linked to point 3, which is about believing in yourself and building confidence. Because one of the key reasons we avoid answering questions is because, of course, when we do that, we're going to get stuff wrong because we don't know all the answers. And that, rather than thinking about that as how we learn, we can start to think about that as actually not being good enough. And when we answer And when we are watching YouTube videos, or we're copying out lots of notes, or we're making flashcards, it feels dead productive. We've got loads to show for our effort, and we can't get anything wrong. Nobody's bad at watching YouTube videos. So the confidence also really underpins the effective study skills as well. On motivation, we want goals for your teen and also a plan. So the goals are not what is written down in your report form as your predicted grade, or what you should be working towards, or what even mum or dad we want them to get. The goals need to be what will make them personally feel proud. It's really about them taking ownership, them being engaged in this process because they see it as their journey. They want to feel proud on results day, and they decide what grades will give them that feeling. What do they want to go to for themselves? And in terms of planning, we want to have a very simple plan of what the week looks like, so that actually we know when we're going to study. We can still have time to see friends, to do our extracurriculars, to game, or whatever it is we want to do. But actually we can make some gentle but consistent progress with our work as well, and we know when that's going to get done. And then on beliefs, it can be very difficult for a teen to believe that they're going to improve their grades across the board. But what most of them can get on board with is an idea that they can get 1% better at their subjects each day. And the truth is, if we can get 1% better each day, and we can do that over many weeks and months, then our grades will improve. And really, all of this is kind of about building your executive function. And if we can build our executive function skills, that's what ultimately will allow us to improve grades across the board. And there's lots of research that shows this as well, that actually great academic performance is not as associated as we would think with just learning tons and tons of content. Actually, by building our executive function skills and being motivated, knowing how to study effective, being confident, having a plan and being able to structure our week is actually much more effective at lifting our grades generally than just focusing on what to learn. So this is much more about how to learn rather than what to learn. So as a next step with this, I'd love you to follow my 3-part video series where I've got a video on how to set goals that motivate, how to build a study plan you can stick to, and also how you can study effectively so you can learn more in less time. And that is all contained in the classroom and my free parent group on Skool. You can either scan the QR code or use the link below to join. This is specifically a group for parents of teens in year 10 or year 11. If that's you, I'd love to see you there.